Eddie, thanks ever so much for joining me today. I want to talk to you about the return of Katie Taylor.
I mean, obviously, it's been a rough few weeks for boxing, and I think she's the kind of perfect remedy for that. She's a shining light for the sport. The night at Madison Square Garden was one of the greatest nights I think the sport has ever seen. You know, people within that arena, the Madison Square Garden, saying this was our greatest night. When you talk about Ali, Frazier, you know, so many incredible nights before them. And she's got a tough fight. You know, Carabajal is mandatory challenger. She's 19-0, undefeated. And often in this situation, people just presume that Katie Taylor will breeze through these kind of challenges. But I think it's going to be a really good fight. And she's as motivated as ever to continue to dominate the sport.
What made you target Carabajal for her? Like you say, unbeaten. It's like, on paper, it's a really tough test after fighting someone like Serrano. What made you guys gravitate towards that fight?
Just because really of a mandatory challenger situation, you know, owning all those belts, you have to box off all of these mandatory challenges. I'm glad we got a proper challenge, because sometimes you're ordered to a fight an opponent that, you know, unfortunately it's not my decision and we'll end up getting a blame for it. This is quite a good example where someone has earned a shot at a title. You know, she's gone through those 19 victories and is ready to fight for a world title. And the difficulty for Katie is that a lot of these fighters will get in a position to fight her and really raise their game. And the danger is that Katie might not raise her game because it's a fight that, you know, people are expecting her to win. So when she fought Amanda Serrano, she was absolutely fired up. She had the camp of her life. You know, she couldn't have done any more. In this instance, luckily, Katie is always motivated, but sometimes can you raise the levels that you need to against fighters that you're expected to beat comfortably? And on the flip side, Carabajal is thinking, wow, one win and I've beaten the legend of the sport and I'm undisputed champion. I changed my life forever. So she's going to be very hungry. It's going to be a tricky fight.
And obviously, big night in London. The undercard's great as well. Can you just talk us through what can fans expect and what are you excited about?
My favourite fight of the card is without doubt Kiko Martinez against Jordan Gill. You know, I mean, this is a fight that really should headline. Kiko Martinez is just that little bee that won't go away. You know, you keep sort of swatting him and, you know, you get him on the floor. You know, when they're on the floor and you think, oh, that's a goner. And next thing, it's back buzzing around your ear again. You know, he's when you look at when people said Kiko Martinez is done, you know, and he fought Kid Galahad and he got his ears boxed off for 6 or 7 rounds and then he knocked him clean out in that fight, became world champion. He came back. He had a brilliant fight with Josh Warrington. You know, Warrington won the fight, but in the process, had his jaw busted, you know, and a lot of other damage physically as well. Kiko Martinez is a horrible, horrible fighter to face. And Jordan Gill will outbox Kiko Martinez in the early stage of this fight, but Kiko will not stop coming forward. Jordan Gill's win last time out against Guerfi, when he had both eardrums burst and had to sit against the ropes because he couldn't stand up and landed that one-punch KO, was one of the greatest victories I've ever seen. And this fight will be a tremendous fight. It's an eliminator for the IBF world title. The return of the Romford Bull, of course, and about 2,500 fans from Romford coming up to light up the Wembley Arena. Always exciting and entertaining. Ellie Scotney fighting the European champion, Mary Romero. You know, women's boxing obviously on fire at the moment. It's a really good fight that will take Ellie to the world title if she can win that fight. Gary Cully in his first fight as a matchroom fighter against an undefeated Frenchman in a very tough fight as well. Loads of action on the undercard as well. And as I said, top to bottom, really good card in Wembley on Saturday.
And obviously, Katie won't be looking past Saturday because that's generally not how fighters operate. But obviously, in your capacity as a promoter, are you already thinking of next steps for Katie? I sat down with Chantel Cameron last week. She wants to fight. Is a Serrano rematch something you're looking for? What does 2023 look like for Katie Taylor?
I mean, Chantel Cameron has got a huge fight coming up, and that's another unbelievable fight against Jessica McCaskill in Abu Dhabi for the undisputed 140-pound title. If she wins that, you'd have Katie undisputed at 135, Chantel undisputed at 140. That could be a huge fight. Of course, the fight that Katie's got her eye on, we all have, is the Amanda Serrano rematch. You know, even though Katie won the fight, it was a close fight. It was one of the best fights anyone's ever seen. And we want to do that again at Croke Park. You know, we want to do that next spring, summer. And I think if Katie can get through on Saturday night, we'll hopefully open talks with Team Serrano and try and get that fight made.
You touched upon it there. Amazing card coming up in Abu Dhabi after this one. Just talk us through that card a little bit and why fans should tune in or travel to see that one.
Probably one of the best cards we've put together top to bottom. I mean, firstly, Dimitri Bivol against Zurdo Ramirez is one of the best fights for boxing. The WBA Light Heavyweight World Championship. Bivol now pound for pound star after defeating Canelo Alvarez. Zurdo's unbeaten in 36 fights or something like that. Former world super middleweight champion as well. Co-main event for that fight, the undisputed 140-pound world championship between Chantel Cameron and Jessica McCaskill. Unbelievable fight. Zelfa Barrett from Manchester, unbeaten star, gets his opportunity to become world champion against Rakimov. It's a brilliant, brilliant fight. You've got Galal Yafai, the Olympic champion. You've got Cow Yafai. You've got Campbell Hatton. You've got so many more on there that I've probably forgotten as well. But November 5th, if you're anywhere near Abu Dhabi or you get the chance to be there at the Etihad Arena. And if not, tune in live on DAZN because that is going to be a fantastic night of boxing.
I spoke to him yesterday, and he's one of them fighters that I think would just literally fight anyone you put in front of him. But is perhaps a rematch with Canelo something that's in your thoughts now that Canelo's took care of his business with Triple G?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a fight that Canelo Alvarez wants. He wants to avenge that defeat. For Bivol, that's an interesting fight. It's a big money fight. He's also got one eye on the undisputed championship in the division. But I think that Canelo Alvarez and Eddie Reynoso will be watching carefully next week to see if Dimitri Bivol can win. Obviously, they probably want Zurdo to win, being Mexican, but they've definitely got one eye on the fight. And I think if Dimitri Bivol is victorious, it will definitely open talks between Canelo Alvarez and Dimitri Bivol for Cinco de Mayo next year. And
a fight that everyone's been talking about recently, not always for the best reasons. I just wanted to get your thoughts on Tyson Fury going in with Dereck Chisora for a third fight. What's your view as a promoter on that fight?
I mean, it's difficult because Dereck's my mate, but I've obviously seen the response from the public who are very disappointed about the fight. I think because he's beaten him twice already, it's a hard sell in that respect. I mean, if you're looking at it just as a guy that, Tyson Fury was always going to pick an easy fight for December 3rd, right? Ultimately. And that was going to be Manuel Charr, but it was met with such disdain from the social media community that they went for Dereck Chisora. And I think if he hadn't beaten him twice convincingly already, then, two Brits, you would have understood that pick. But I think because it's an unwanted trilogy, if you like, that people were very disappointed with that fight. But, Del Boy always shows up. He's coming off the back of a good victory against Pulev, and he'll give it everything in that fight.
If you had to guess, do you think that's selling out Tottenham Stadium?
I think they said they'd sold 50,000 already. So I think so. I mean, Tyson Fury's a big name. People know who Dereck Chisora is. It's a bit of a weird one, December 3rd with no roof, but us Brits are a bit crazy, probably think that's quite funny, so we'll go anyway. And, I think they'll probably, I don't know what the undercard is. They'll need a strong undercard. I mean, I don't think it's going to smash pay-per-view records, but, it could have been a lot worse. I think if he would have fought Manuel Charr, then, maybe no one would have turned up. But Dereck's a big name within his own right. And Tyson Fury's a huge star.
And you said before that you felt like Tyson was always going to take an easy fight on December 3rd. In your view, was there always that feeling that the AJ fight just wasn't realistic and that on Fury's side, they weren't serious about it?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm sure that there's blame on every side in some element of why that fight didn't speedily go through. But if you have any brain in your head, not you, by the way, but anybody listening to this, then understand this. We were given a deadline, of a day where the fight had to be signed because Tyson Fury wanted to move forward and know who he was fighting on December 3rd. 4 weeks later, he signed the Dereck Chisora fight. So, and all throughout that process, by the way, he was negotiating with Dereck Chisora. So why were we put on a deadline, yet Dereck Chisora had 3 or 4 weeks more to make his decision and sign a contract than we did? That's all you need to know.
On AJ, can you let us in on anything that's in the pipeline for Anthony Joshua? Obviously, a lot of talk about who is next.
Yeah, I think it's more realistic to be fighting early next year. I mean, I just got asked a question about Gerald Washington. I mean, Gerald Washington said he's negotiating a fight. we've not had one conversation with Gerald Washington. I have absolutely no idea where that's coming from. And we're not fighting Gerald Washington. Sorry, not Gerald Washington, Chris Arreola. So from there, I think the fight is Dillian Whyte against Anthony Joshua. I mean, Dillian Whyte has his own tough fight November 26th against Jermaine Franklin. But I don't think AJ wants an easy fight. I think he realises every camp's hard, every fight's hard. He'd rather be in the biggest fight available. And obviously, we're working with both guys. That's a fight that could get made maybe for February or March of 2023. So we'll see if Dillian Whyte can beat Jermaine Franklin. And that could be next for AJ. And
another situation that the whole boxing world talking, I just wanted to sort of get an update on where things are now, is the Conor Benn situation coming out of the Chris Eubank Jr. cancelled fight. Can you tell us what's going on with Conor and that whole sort of situation?
There's a legal process unfolding at the moment and hearings and so forth. But Conor Benn wants to get in front of the media. It's difficult for us because I don't mind talking about the process that unfolded, but I can't talk about stuff that's going to obviously prejudice his legal hearing. So anything around that is over to him to speak to you guys about, which he will this week. But also, you know, from our point of view, we want his case to be heard, because whether he's found not guilty, whether he's found guilty, whether it's a no ban, 6-month ban, 1-year ban, 2-year ban, whatever it is, until that unfolds, we can't move on. So that's what's taking place now behind the scenes. He's obviously in a very big fight for his own career. And, you know, you'll hear from him this week because he wants to get in front of the mix because he's not really been able to say anything either. So that's what we expect to happen this week.